Hello and welcome to EverCast episode number 76, which we have titled Signature Monsters. EverCast is a online MMO and related podcast connecting gamers with the game they play. We talk about all things fun and interesting in the world of online video games, and wherever we can, we try to bring the conversation back to EverQuest Next and Landmark. I'm one of your normal weekly regular hosts, Hanlon. Man, resetting the router does not look like it really fixed much. But yeah, hey, I'm here. Hi, everybody. With us this evening are the three other regular weekly normal hosts.
Hi.
Greetings, mortals.
I was promised another Lucy Dragon and I didn't get it, and I'm kind of sad.
Lucy Dragon was Lucy Dragon yesterday, and Lucy Dragon cannot reuse the costume again today, for it is dirty.
I just showed up because someone told me there'd be punch and pie. I see no or pie.
Yeah, we lied
Who
to you.
promised you punch and pie?
Do you want punch?
I'm a liar.
Oh. I've been threatened. I've been lied to and been threatened with violence.
And I'm just
Welcome to
curious.
EverCast.
Welcome to EverCast.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Hi, everybody. We do a once a week podcast, live cast, on all things video game related. Yesterday was Halloween. Hi, guys. How did your Halloween go?
Oh,
Anyone?
it was fun. I watched horror movies with a friend and did that. Go if no one here has watched the Babadook, go watch that horror movie. It is fantastic.
If you didn't watch Hocus Pocus yesterday, shame on all of you.
Hocus Pocus was watched many times this month.
That's funny because I have watched Hocus Pocus the movie, but I had no idea that the blonde in that was Sarah Jessica Parker until like 2 weeks ago or a week ago.
For shame!
I know. I had no idea that was Sarah Jessica Parker. So candy. We all have a favorite candy for Halloween or in general?
Is yours whatever has chocolate?
This is chocolate.
Sort of, but you know, I want to say that I'm a.
Are you a chocolate purist? Are you like?
I try to be, but if it sits around in the house long enough, I will eat anything that has a vague chocolate taste to it.
Fake chocolate taste.
It's true.
He hates peanut butter, and I don't eat a lot of sweets because candy is not a thing for me. I like candy sometimes, but it's not like, oh my god, candy! And I happen to be very fond of peanut butter cups, but I also am very fond of them frozen. So at the end of Halloween, I buy one of those big, like, 2-pound bags of the little tiny mini, like the size of a quarter kind of thick ones. And I put them in my freezer. Lucy. Yummy. And I put them in the freezer because, you know, I hate you so much right now. And I love them. And so I keep them in my freezer. And then, like, I reach in and, you know, eat a couple of them. But I can't eat more than 2 or 3 because it makes me sick to my stomach. It's just too sweet for me. You wouldn't think, right? But no, I can't eat sweets. What does that man do? I go in.
This bag this morning.
That's what he would do. Last night I was looking for my my peanuttles. They're peanuts,
Totally
candy coated peanuts. They're called peanuttles. Google it. I swear to God, peanuttles. They're candy coated peanuts. I love them. I don't buy them very often. Guess what? I couldn't find them. Guess where they were? In his belly.
They're gonna say his pants.
I've told her before that if there is candy in the house that she does not want me to have, she needs to hide it from me because I can put off the temptation for a little while.
And
but-
by a little while, he means 24 to 48
oh
hours.
come on, it's longer than that.
Bullshit.
It is.
To answer your question originally, I will basically eat most candy. Chocolate is my favorite, but in particular, I think they're Ghirardelli dark chocolate and caramel with sea salt squares. Oh my god.
Yeah. I love dark chocolate. He swears up and down he hates chocolate. Guess what happens?
I ate it.
He still eats it. So I buy dark chocolate just so he won't touch it. He still eats it. I buy coconut cookies because he hates coconut. He'll still eat them.
I really don't like coconut.
You ate my Samoas.
Oh yeah, but there's still.
You ate my Samoas!
Don't make me walk to the freezer and pull out the box of Samoas that I have not eaten.
What about the box that you have?
I draw the line at coconut. That's a line that I seldom cross.
That's that one time in band camp.
Milky Way is my favorite. I like milk chocolate and the nougat. Not the caramel. Not the Three Musketeer, not the Snickers, the Milky Way. I just wanted to get that out because otherwise we'd move on and I'd forget.
I like Reese's. we had to go through a lot, but I like Reese's. I also like because the season's coming up. I do like the chocolate oranges because I think orange and chocolate's a good mix.
Fruit does not belong in chocolate.
Strawberries.
No. There's no fruit
Chocolate
in the
covered
chocolate. It's
strawberries?
just flavored
You
with
don't like-
zest.
Yeah, it's just flavored. Doesn't actually. There's no really fruit in it, but. I mean,
Yeah, like Raisinets are
do the whole
gross.
chocolate covered strawberries thing.
I love strawberries.
Love Raisinets.
I love chocolates. They do not mix. I've only liked them one time, and they were handmade by my aunt.
Handmade strawberries are dope. Those are good stuff.
Yeah, I again, I like to consider like try and be all like connoisseur. Like I don't like the chocolate when it's not made very well or made high quality. It has like a wax-like taste and consistency to it, and I like to be like, I like milk chocolate. But no, if you leave that nasty ass wax chocolatey stuff, I'll eat it.
You mean like
I have
every advent calendar ever made?
pretty much.
In theory, fantastic. However, I think I'm gonna switch to the wine rack advent calendar where each bottle of wine is labeled for a different day.
Oh, that sounds fab. So, Tanlin, anything with chocolate?
I try to be a little bit more discerning than that. I try.
I know. I was going to say you're not discerning. You married me, and then I realized what I was trying to say there, and then decided I should shut up.
All right. So I'm going to put us back on the ECast news.
We weren't talking about candy today.
No, well, we could probably spend 20 or 30 minutes talking about candy. I kind of want us to
signature
focus
candy.
a little bit. So change the topic to signature candy. Next Halloween, let's do that.
Just signature candy.
On the schedule, to keep you informed about what we're going on tonight, we're talking about our signature monsters that we think that belong in every MMO, not just our favorite MMO, and our thoughts on that. Next week, Kailas and I will be coming back from BlizzCon to talk about the BlizzCon after report. One of the things that I have confirmed over the course of this week is that the Warcraft movie trailer is confirmed for BlizzCon. You will be able to see it as of probably Friday of this week.
I would just like to make a quick statement about the show on Sunday and the BlizzCon. I apologize in advance if I am incapable of speaking, and judge me if you like. I don't care. Linkin Park is one of my favorite bands. I was literally screaming when I found out it was Linkin Park closing BlizzCon. So if I can't talk, I had a great time.
No judgment. I've seen them in concert.
And then the week after that, the 15th of November, we are talking virtual reality and augmented reality. We're talking about the Google Glass, the HoloLens, the all of the different VR headsets, the Oculus Rift, the
PlayStation 4 VR.
Just,
what was the
just
name?
equipment that's VR,
It-
or can we also talk about like, okay,
No. We're bringing it up because those products are starting to show up on the market. They're starting to show up on the market instead of like developer prices to consumer prices, and so it is the time to start talking about them. So we're going to be talking about how VR and AR lends itself to online video games, primarily, not so much about the equipment. Other than there will be equipment out there. Vladis, you want to take over the Signature Monster contest?
Yeah, sure. So, contest time. Alright, guys. Last week I kind of announced that we would do a contest because we do have we just keep getting things. I don't know what to give away now. So we have things. I don't want to give away the other codes because technically Lucy's hoarding those, and she's a dragon, and I dare not steal treasure from a dragon. But I just do have more gigantic beta codes. So, what we'll do is that if you email us at contact@evercastshow.com and send us your signature monster and a little 3 to 5 sentence paragraph of why that's your favorite monster. Keep it quick, keep it simple, short, and if what you write is best, then we'll go with that one. Most likely, what we'll do is we'll end up taking all the names, throwing them into a generator that will pick one random person, and we will give you a thing. But we will read some of those signature monsters here live on the show next week and see what you guys write. And I got sent messages.
Don't worry
Okay.
about those.
right.
But I do want to throw out there that you need to be, if you're going to participate in the contest, you have to be over 18 and a resident a citizen of the United States. But we won't check to make sure.
Yeah. Even for game codes, even for beta access for those types of things.
I'm talking about some of those other codes that we have.
Oh, the other code. Yeah. But this one they should be fine, right? They don't have to be 18 or well. Oh,
Don't make me repeat myself. We're requiring you to be, but we're not checking. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Listen.
All right.
I'm checking. I have access to databases.
Yeah.
Is 17? All right, 18. Giggity.
Oh. Well. Holy crap! We just ended it up on a list. We're on a list someplace now.
Yeah, we have like 3 probably like Secret Service monitoring this Skype call now, at least.
NSA is watching EverCast now.
I will lick face.
Whoa.
All right. Other ECast news. When prior to the Columbia Nova purchase of
Columbus Nova.
what she said. Prior to that occurring, one of the contractors working on the Storybricks engine was an independent contractor named Dave Marks, who has written a couple of books, or at least one book on game AI. And shortly after he was filled the term of his contract, he started working for Arena.net on the Guild Wars 2 AI. That's awesome. Unfortunately, I've been playing a lot of Guild Wars 2 lately, and I haven't seen or noticed much change in the AI of the mobs in Guild Wars 2. I don't really know what to think about that, other than I just reporting it. It's ECast news. So here's what I'm theorizing, and I briefly spoke to Flatus and the rest of the crew beforehand. I think that developers have tools to seriously ramp up the difficulty of the mobs in MMOs and video games, but they don't, because those mobs are actually meant to be defeated, and if they jack them up too hard, then you wouldn't be able to defeat them at all. Anyone else? Any thoughts on that?
Do you think that we could see maybe some of his AI in the 10-man raids in Heart of Thrones?
That would be awesome. And I actually should back up and say that Guild Wars 2 has a thing called fractals, and fractals they're kind of like dungeons, but they have level difficulties assigned to them. I'm assuming that like once you get high enough up in those fractal levels and they become more difficult, the AI gets turned way higher up so that the mobs that you're facing are making more intelligent decisions on movement and cover and abilities to use and being more aware of what abilities you could use against them. But at the low level ones, you don't really notice that. It's more of them following a script.
I think they're actually kind of like raid chapters. So it's a little bit harder than the dungeons, even at the lowest levels. And you have to unlock like 1, 2, 3 before you can get to 4. So I absolutely think that you're probably right and that the monsters do get harder as you go up. I actually was never able to participate in the fractals because basically if you weren't already cleared for the first whatever number of fractals, nobody wanted you in their group. Nobody wanted to go through the lower fractals. So
right. And the reason why in Guild Wars 2 I haven't gone through the fractals is because every time I log in, I'm jumping into world versus world, and if I'm enjoying doing this part of the game, why do some other part of the game? So maybe when we take our long break over Christmas and such, I'll spend some time doing some fractals and report back on that.
Just a comment. Legendary Neurotoxin here in chat said, I'd rather every battle be meaningful than kicking over trash mobs like I'm clearing a level in Mega Man. I get what you're saying, but I think that there is something to be said for clearing waves of mobs like you're a badass. I know that when I've been reading a lot of over the years through dungeon mastering in Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, all those different RPGs, tabletop RPGs. I've read a lot on like how to create adventures that are meaningful, and you need to cater to all different people. So not everybody feels useful in the boss fight. Sometimes you need to give like other characters time to shine. For example, a wizard who can cast an AoE spell and kill lots of mobs at a time, that'll make them feel useful. Like even if those mobs aren't designed to be like a super hard badass like whatever, you still have to cater to everybody's playstyle so that everybody at your table's having fun. And I think that's why we see trash mobs and things like that. Or like waves of things. I think it gives AoE people time to shine. Just a thought.
All right. So other ECast news. I'm not a big baseball fan, but I know it's such a switch in topic. But I follow sports in general. I like following along with sports, and I just wanted to say that the first game of the World Series, they lost their entire broadcast for like 4 minutes during the World Series. That's basically their championship game. And then 2 years ago during the Super Bowl, between the Ravens, maybe it was 3 years ago, because it was between the Ravens and the 49ers, the stadium had a complete power outage. And I just wanted to let you guys know, doing a live broadcast is hard work. Even the most littlest things can just like be a major wrench thrown into the system. And so it's kind of hard to... it's hard doing this, and I just wanted to let you know that I hope you appreciate all of our effort. We have a lot of fun doing it, but it is still hard work. Last bit of my ECast news before I turn it over to Flatus. CCP, which is the producer and developer for EVE Online, over this week sold off their White Wolf properties to Paradox Interactive. White Wolf Properties was the Vampire the Masquerade and the whole World of Darkness role-playing games that also spun off a very worldwide live-action role-play network and a couple of video games including Bloodline and Redemption. don't have them written down here in front of me, but at least 2 video games. And Paradox Interactive is actually a video game company. They're not quite the role-play game tabletop publisher. So I was speculating with Kylest because Kylest and I have a special connection because of the vampire LARP, that we think that there actually is life breathed into the Vampire the Masquerade MMO that had been like talked about and in development for years and years and years. But for like last year, it was that CCP came out and announced that, hey, we're shutting that whole line of development down. But now that other video game company, Paradox Interactive, purchased that intellectual property, I actually think that we're going to see a multiplayer Vampire the Masquerade video game of some sort in the near future.
I hope there are skins you can buy so your vampire can sparkle.
Oh God.
Can you imagine the horror on all of like serious our peers' faces?
Vampires don't sparkle. They don't walk in daylight.
Wait, what about Blade?
True, Blade
He's
does.
not a real
He was
vampire.
he was
can...
he was half vampire, and it was
Yeah. But his backstory, I mean, it's because she was about to give birth anyway, and when she was bitten, so he didn't take a full effect, and... Good story, I mean, great, like, don't get me wrong, great comic, but...
Sparkle.
Although the vampires in that movie did wear a lot of SPF to go walk out in the sun.
Yeah, because... But when we talk about signature monsters, maybe we can talk a little bit about that. Okay, so Gladys, you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll go quick. All right.
You want to take over on
Final Fantasy 14 news? Yeah. All right. Final Fantasy 14. That's a mouthful now. News. I got some of that. Patch 3.1, As Go Light, So Goes Darkness. Release date is official. It's November 10th. 2015, which is next now. It's now this month, so in 9 days. So yay! The new patch will have quests, new quests, new raids. The Void Arc. It's got Sky Sharks. Go see that video. It's got Sky Sharks and Sky Manta Rays. New Primal Fight, new dungeons, new Golden Saucer events. Also, on the 11th, the day after the patch, Final Fantasy 14 is going to have a special Final Fantasy 11 event, because Final Fantasy 11 launches their final update for their game. This is the final end story, and then that's it for Final Fantasy 11. It's going to still be up and running, so if you still have an account with them, maybe log in and try to play it, and see the final story. But this is it. This is very rarely does an MMO get an end. I've never in my lifetime. Most times, if they get an end, it's because they are done. They're like just getting canceled. They're not really getting an official end to the story.
Like fire.
and that's
What?
like Firefly.
Oh no, I know. Oh no, they're coming back. I don't know if you heard that news. It's coming. But yeah, Firefly's gonna come back. No, that's official. Like, that's actually an official. No, that's an official thing. Unless somebody.
I have a skeptic.
Yeah, I'm pretty skeptical too.
Like, I mean, fine. They said it's coming back fine. It's not gonna be that good. It's not gonna be as good as the original. Everybody knows that. Everybody here knows that.
Oh. So yeah, it's so rare that an MMO gets an ending. So most of the time, your MMO just gets canceled. So so if you have played it, have not, or have a chance to, go check it out and see the final story, and bid Final Fantasy XI a fond farewell, I guess. On to signature monster. Let's go.
Sorry, again, internet issues, and it's trying to resolve.
Pissing him the fuck off.
No, it's not that bad. It's just I wish that like could I get some consistent internet here?
In the middle of in the desert.
Listen, I don't want to hear about consistent internet, alright? After all, there's a bit of ECast news for you. After all of my internet issues, my power went out, and now my modem's on the fritz. So I don't have any Wi-Fi. I just have my LAN connection, and it's running at like 70% of the speed that I'm supposed to have. So I've still got internet issues.
Yeah. Okay, so signature monsters. So we were talking about how we wanted to handle Halloween this year. And one of the thoughts that we had was all talk about our signature monster, our favorite monsters from lore, from RPGs, from MMOs, whatever the case. But instead, we came across our Halloween events in MMOs, and we thought that made a better show. But then we were going to save the idea and come back the day after Halloween to talk about that signature monster, that monster that we really look forward to seeing in every video game that we see. And other than the four that each of us are going to bring up, or the one that each of us are going to bring up, so the four total, we had some other great mentions of signature monsters that weren't our picks, but we thought that they deserved a shout out because other people had mentioned them. Dragons was one that was shouted out at us as a signature monster that none of us picked, surprisingly. Greenskins, be they the trolls, the orcs, the goblins, the slimy green creatures.
Green people are people too.
I'm sorry, did I call it slimy? Is that disparaging to them?
Yeah, it's very offensive.
My bad. and then golems were thrown out by Legendary Neurotoxin just before the show went live, and so I threw that down there. And him and I briefly talked about that golems can include a category of monsters. D&D, I think, did a fabulous job when they just threw them all down into one. They threw into one category of monsters called constructs.
That's actually used to be one of my favorites, and it's not that I don't they're still one of my favorites, but they're just kind of second. Sorry.
All right. So I'm the one that goes first, pretty much because I volunteered.
Voluntold.
My favorite MMO monster, or monster from all sorts of fiction and fantasy and MMOs and role-playing games, is none other than the Undead. Which is why Lucy talking about vampires had me all twitchy and stuff like that, because I have a firm, in my head, a vampire is supposed to have signature features about them. They're supposed to be afraid of the frickin' sunlight and not sparkled. But
Sparkle.
But there are more different types of undead than vampires. And there was a fantasy supplement book that I was reading like 10 years ago that I thought had a very interesting breakdown of the undead. And I was going to throw that out to you guys and see what you thought of it. They broke the undead into 4 categories based on 2 different traits. The first trait being, are they corporeal or are they incorporeal? And then the second trait being, are they sentient or are they non-sentient? And so an example of a incorporeal, non-sentient undead would be like the poltergeist, right? They don't have any real thought process behind them, and they're incorporeal, but they will haunt the shit out of you. They will, they throw things around your house. And then let's see, zombies, right? Non-sentient, corporeal. They have a physical form that you can see, but they don't have any. They want to consume brains because they have no brain of their own. And then, the movie Ghost, or excuse me, let me back up. I added my own third trait list of categories. Added, are they benevolent or are they malevolent? And some examples of like a sentient, incorporeal, benevolent undead would be like Patrick Swayze's character from the movie Ghost, because he comes back from the dead. He's a ghost. but he's not. He's trying to right the wrong. Another example, and one of my top 5 movies of all time, corporeal, sentient, and benevolent, trying to undo the wrongs that caused him death, is the whole concept of the crow, coming back from the dead to avenge his wife, and then going back to enjoy the unlife to his final rest.
Can I interject something right here?
Oh, sure.
If you're a Forgotten Realms D&D fan, Baelnorns are actually elven undead charged with, they're kind of like liches, but they're not evil like liches, and they're not crazy like liches. They basically just guard their family's crypts.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I was going to throw out to you guys. That we do you agree with my categories? Do you think that makes a whole lot of sense? Because then, you can create a story behind why the undead are the way they are. Because if you the beginning of the Crow comic book and the Crow movie, it sets it up that sometimes the Raven or sometimes a death occurs that is so unjust and unwarranted that the Crow will follow the spirit of the dead back into the world of the living to right that wrong. And so that's just a little flavor thrown on top of it. But you once you have those categories, you can start developing a story around that type of undead. So I mean, do I just keep rolling? Do I just keep trucking along? Because I've got in MMOs, there was an entire expansion of World of Warcraft that was pretty much centered on the undead, being the Lich King. Arthas was a Death Knight. They call them the undead, but other than calling them the undead, there really is no indicator of what that death meant. Arthas never fell in battle and was brought back as undead. He grabbed this Frostmourne, and that was what turned him into a Death Knight, which was kind of a little weird because normally when you think of undead, you think of a mortal, be it elf, human, whatever, dying and then coming back from that death as undead, and that is one example of where there was no real death.
Possession, maybe.
Yeah, it was more like a.
He controlled the army of the undead. Is really what he did.
Yeah, well, and it changed his eye color, so.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird because
he was frozen in a chair, though. I mean,
yeah. But in other video games, is there a signature story in a novel or a fantasy novel where there was a death and there was someone who came back from the dead? And I will get to the EverQuest Next e-novel at the to finish up my little segment, but in other games.
Games or in general?
No. Well, I mean, I love Review with a Vampire, right? Because every time somebody starts talking about vampires, I'm one of my first thoughts is I'm gonna give you a choice that I never had. That sort of thing. Did that just fly?
No, I'm with you.
Okay.
No.
And that's the whole that was when. Oh, I'm on the spot, so I'm forgetting his name.
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, I know the character. Brad offering Tom Cruise, do you want to die or do you want to come back and live forever?
We should watch that again. Thanks.
I mean,
just as long as we don't have to watch the sequels.
There's tons of movies that do that, though. It's kind of it's almost a trope, is it not? I mean, look at Evil Dead 2: Dead by Dawn. I mean, Ash gets smashed with Deadite, and he becomes Evil Ash, and then he ends up having to fight himself eventually. He ends up cutting off his own hand, because it went bad.
Yeah. And then I started being interested, a huge fan of the undead and the legends around the undead, long before zombies became a I don't know. They made a huge pop culture resurgence, and one of the things that blew me away about the whole like zombie genre is that back in like prior to like 28 Days Later, zombies were never a virus. The zombies were like a necromancer created a curse, or there was or excuse me, necromancers animated the undead. They created zombies that way, like through their magical power, or they there was a curse that like people went into a guarded tomb and they died, but they were cursed that once they died, they came back as zombies. And
Wasn't Night of the Living Dead though? That wasn't a curse.
no, but there was no in Night of the Living Dead, like the first black and white movie. There was no origin of there was no explanation of what caused the zombies. And in Shaun of the Dead, there is no explanation, or there's no official explanation in the movie, but the idea of the movie is that we all become zombies because we're so like plugged into the machine, right? So that we don't even notice like things going on around us, like we're already pretty much brain dead as it is.
What about Resident Evil? Because that's a game, and they were through they were a virus created by the Umbrella Corporation.
Umbrella Corporation. Yeah.
But when did Resident Evil first come? I mean,
It came out before 28 Days Later.
It's true, but I'm saying like the early in like the early 90s, there wasn't a whole lot of like, for one thing, zombies weren't nearly as popular as they are now. And then on the other hand, there was a lot of the lore surrounding them, or the origination stories weren't really virus related.
We thank Walking Dead for that.
The original Resident Evil came out in 1996.
As the video game, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, but now, and what was its impact? Like I'm saying that
at the
Resident Evil
time
was
huge.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, it was. That
was.
was such a big game.
All right, I'm gonna.
I mean, it's at like equals 7 at this point.
Right, but the
plus every offshoot of the game itself, plus the movie series, plus it had an impact. Because, to brief history, at the time it came out, Resident Evil was a game of nothing like that came out. You had the new system, it had a disc, had a lot of things. It gave you the camera angles. It made you feel like you were in a George A. Romero movie, right? You went to this haunted mansion. You knew stuff was going on outside. You weren't sure what was going on. And you don't see things. Like, the first thing you come upon in that game, the very first thing that happens, zombie. And you're like, what the is going on in this house?
All right, so Flatus's internet is on fuzzy. Lucy, despite all of her complaints, it's the only one that's actually working.
That's impossible.
I'm telling you, like, I can see that I'm dropping frames. I can see Flatus is all pixelated. You're crystal clear.
I don't know. Better, maybe?
So I don't. Tanlin personally does not like virus zombies because I think it's overdone, and I don't like sparkle vampires.
Sparkle. Come on, I like anything that spells.
Unicorns.
I was gonna say, do you like Twilight Skull then?
And Prophet, yeah, we mentioned that the first Dawn of the Dead was 1978, and it was that was the one where there was no official explanation given about why they were zombies. They just showed up. Anyway, yeah. We moving right along.
Yeah, you gotta mention that one thing real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to the last. I'm super frustrated with the internet connection on a couple of our end. So always bringing it back to the EverQuest Next and Landmark wherever we can. We do know by reading the e-novels that there is one lich in the new Norath of EverQuest Next, and it's not even like it's alluded to. Like they use the word lich in like the last paragraph of the Fall of Bastion. And if you've forgotten the story or how it went, Coralyn Larkos was at the Battle of the Fall of Bastion. He was fighting off the dragon army that was approaching the city, so that the rest of the Combine could leave and flee across the sea. He bought them enough time. And his apprentice was having a conversation with him, and he was saying, "No, you go with and flee with everybody else, and I will hold off the last bit of the dragons." And so they fought. Coralyn Larkos and Ithiosar fought, and Ithiosar, the Black Dragon, finally won. And in the final moments of Coralyn Larkos's mortal life, Ithiosar basically cursed him to be like, "Oh, I'm going to free you," and what he meant by that is, "I will free you from this mortal coil." And then, then there was blackness. Cut to the next chapter, and Coralyn Larkos is animated, alive, semi-sentient. But it seems like he's sentient, but he's conflicted. Like he has two parts of his mind. He has the evil part that's resurrected as a lich, and then he has the memories of the former person who he was. He kills his apprentice, and then the final scene of the Fall of Bastion is Coralyn Larkos walking away, animated the battle dead, to follow as skeletons and zombies and ghouls behind him. And so that was the first encounter of the undead that we have for EverQuest Next. And I thought that was really cool because it's one of my favorite monsters in MMOs, and it's one of my favorite types of the undead, which is the lich. Corporeal, sentient, extremely malevolent, and extremely powerful. In the original
And
Dungeons and
intelligent.
Dragons. Oh, yeah. Yeah, intelligent. They're keen. From the original Dungeons and Dragons, lich were normally clerics or magic users that had reached that point where they were starting to fear their own death, and so they created magics to escape to escape dying. They did not want to die, so they were like, "Okay, well, if I die, I will come back as a lich, and this is what I need to do to ensure that this happens." So that was me. That was the undead. Up next is Kylest.
And I love me my beholders. They have been a longtime favorite of mine since I started playing Dungeons and Dragons back when I was a teenager. See, and here's where I don't know what to say about them. I love the way they look. They're totally evil little demons. They make me super happy. I love the way that they look. I love that they're super intelligent. They're tricksters. They're manipulative. Does that make me a bad person for liking the really, really bad?
No, that's not what makes you a bad person.
Oh, marrying you makes me a bad person.
No comment.
Oh.
All right. So they're beholders. Kylest, where was the first place that you saw them?
Dungeons
Where else
and Dragons.
Right. Where else have you seen them?
Okay, so beholders. They're one of the few classic Dungeons and Dragons monsters that Wizards of the Coast actually claims as product identity, which means that it's not released under its open game source or open game license. And because of that, nobody else can actually use a beholder and call it a beholder. Well, just because it's not in WoW as a beholder doesn't mean they didn't base their creatures off of beholders. 2, if they were in EQ1 and called them beholders, it was probably a no-no.
I'm pretty sure the phrase is now the non-copyrighted phrase "I tyrant" has been used a lot.
Yeah, I've seen that in a lot.
And here is a screenshot from World of Warcraft. This is one of the demons from World of Warcraft. When warlocks summon it, I think they call it their observer pet.
Yeah, it's an observer.
So it's also known as the observer demon.
So it's not identical to the beholders from Dungeons and Dragons. However, in the game files to World of Warcraft, they actually label them as beholders in the game files. So if you look through the game files, you'll find beholder, but that's actually what they list as a beholder. But they don't really call them beholders in game. They have several names. Wink Monster, that's funny. I like that one. But Dungeons and Dragons was my first encounter. There's several artist renditions that I'm totally in love with. If Tanlin will pull that picture up for me, there is actually a crossover Undead beholder. It's a Lich beholder.
Yeah,
And
I popped it up right now. It is a painting from one of the people I know, Raven Mamura. He's a freelance artist that's worked on a couple of trading card games and RPGs.
that's not it.
That's not the Lich Beholder?
Not what I'm looking at.
You're like looking at 30 seconds behind.
Okay. True. Yeah.
Yeah, I know which one you were talking about.
I like how he steals my glory. Like, this is my topic and he gets to brag about, like, oh, I know him. He's my friend. Yes, Raven is a friend of his. Totally love that one. So there's the link between our two. That's my tattoo. That's my next tattoo. I'm getting beholders. That's my
Nice.
my entire right arm is gonna end up being video
Swap.
game related from shoulder to wrist. Like a
New
full
drinking
sleeve.
game. Every time Kai mentions a new tattoo.
Oh,
Awesome.
yay!
I'm gonna get your asses drunk.
Don't make a quiver. Hold on to your liver. Or you can get you shit faced.
But yeah, just hey, beholders. I like them. They're evil. I don't know that there are any exceptions to them being evil. I like that they're intelligent evil. I love them. They're my favorite.
No, I can't think of any examples of them being intelligent or being good. They're pretty much always smart, evil.
Just a beholder that rolls up and he's just like, "Hi guys, I made you souffle. It's right over here. Oh, it looks delicious." And then you're like, look right at him, and you just like they turn to stone, like every time.
Right? It's like,
He invites people over for dinner, and he opens the door. Hi. Just shoots his little lasers.
so some of their signature abilities, right? Like the big eye is the ray of disintegration coming out, right? And disintegration means exactly what it sounds like. No, the big eye isn't the ray of disintegration?
Anti-magic.
Oh, that's
Well-
right. They're the anti-magic. Yeah. So
Usually
that's what
they have
makes.
like one eye that's a disintegration ray, one eye that's like a turn to stone ray.
The charm ray is the one that usually, because they're intelligent, you know who to charm, right? You go after the healer, not the tank. Screw the tank.
No. You definitely go after the tank. They can one-shot the wizard.
Okay, well, and then I also remember one of their eyes is a levitation eye, right?
I'm not sure if it's an eye or if they can just do that.
I
Because they're
haven't played
magic.
Dungeons and Dragons since like, oh god, I'm so old. 2nd edition.
Oh, I
Been
started
a minute.
original. So it's not. It's more of like a who your DM was thing rather than a how old you are thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it's but one of the things that you could do in Dungeons and Dragons with a smart boss monster is with levitation. Like if they had a melee fighter that you could identify as the monster, you would just levitate them out of combat range. So swinging his sword, trying to do damage while he's floating in the sky and can't reach the monster. I've done that to my players.
I don't talk about Gorgons, but my other favorite is Displacer Beast. Love me some Displacer Beast.
The gelatinous cube.
Them too. Like I like all the
Went through
weird
dungeons
ones.
from the beginning of time.
Well, what about you, Gladys?
What's my
What's your
signature?
signature monster?
Yes. Flatus, you are up next.
Well, I took on so what some would even consider, sometimes people believe they're real. So that the Eldritch gods, the true beings themselves, the old ones, if you will.
The creatures that exist beyond time and space from another dimension.
Yeah. They interest me so much because Lovecraft's gods have infected their way through not only horror, but we have, other books. We have tabletop gaming. We have role playing. We have Warcraft and MMOs, RPGs. Everything. What is going on then? What is going on in chat?
I'm not sure.
Somebody just starts screaming. What? All right, I won't pay attention.
I've dealt with him. We're good.
All right.
I hope.
So the two pictures that I popped up for Flatus's monsters are Cthulhu,
Yes.
however you pronounce it.
Cthulhu. The old one himself. Cthulhu, the cosmic entity created by Lovecraft. If you ever see sketches of Cthulhu, here's the thing: on the Pacific Coast, I don't know if you guys know, but in the world of science and marine biology, there's a mysterious bloop in the water, right? Scientists have said they figured it out.
It's ice. Yes, they say they figured it out.
They figured it out. The bloop. But it's funny because where it's described where Cthulhu's under the water location is. If you go, what is it like? It was like 100 miles out front of that is the bloop. So some people are like, that's what I'm saying. Like some people still to this day kind of believe that these creatures, and it's just not Cthulhu. You have Shub Nigroth, the Whisper in Darkness. You have Yog Sothoth, who is if you played WoW, you have Yog Saron, and that's what Yog Sothoth was based off of, or Yog Saron was based off of Yog Sothoth. You have Yig, and you have the which is the Curse of Yig, and then you have there is the Crawling Chaos. These are creatures, and like
Narlathotep.
Yeah, and then you have Shub Nigroth, who was this weird, gross tentacle thing. And like Warcraft, I think uses all these old gods. I think is the one MMO that comes off like that I've seen it, and maybe someone in chat could tell me something different. I know there's deities in other games, but these deities are very specific. It's funny that that it influenced Warcraft so much that those old gods became the old gods that influenced Azeroth. And I think it's kind of cool that just tons and tons of games based around those Eldritch gods, and I think that they're cool. And even Cabin in the Woods, the end. I'm not trying to ruin the movie, but old gods are not true.
There is a film festival of independent and low budget movies called the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival in Portland, Oregon, and I've mentioned before, I grew up in the Olympia area that is about between Seattle and Portland, and I've actually gone to the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. I love it. As a matter of fact, the one movie that I have a credit in a movie as a gravedigger. Long story. But the movie that I had a credit in was actually premiered at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival.
I
Nice.
played a tabletop game that was very much like you went crazy. How long did it take you before you went crazy? It was a long ass time ago. What was that game?
Arkham Horror.
Huh?
Arkham Horror.
Gladys, have you heard of a band called The Darkest of the Hillside Thickets?
No, but I will want. That sounds awesome.
It was Call of Cthulhu.
Okay, that one. Yeah, Arkham Horror is also based on Lovecraft. So Call of Cthulhu, that one.
I was thinking it was actually based on H.P. Lovecraft a bit. I was like, what if I'm wrong and I say it and then I totally lose geek cred again? No, let's not do that.
All right, I'm linking. I am linking it in chat. I have seen this band play live. They're kind of like a Gwar-esque band in that they wear costumes of Cthulhu-esque creatures and they sing punk rock songs about the Cthulhu mythos.
Oh, I'm so in.
How have I not told you about this before, Flatus?
Oh, I would eat this up. You knew.
I know. So I'm like, oh my god, I've seen this band. It's dark. It's called The Darkest of the Hillside Thickets, and it's a punk rock band.
I'm so in. Raw Meat Volume 4. Cthulhu Strikes Back. I mean, guys, Cthulhu speaks for itself. I mean, I picked it as my signature monster because I think it is the signature monster. It is just, like I said, it infected, I think, all of what we believe in horror, sci-fi. It kind of covers all the bases. And it's all based, and if you haven't read the Lovecraftian tales of of those gods, go do it. It's crazy stuff. It almost makes you read it to a point where it's like, is this real? Was this guy like pinned for something?
The best thing I can say about reading Lovecraft is that your mind does things that no pen or paper or CGI can do, and it's fantastically scary. Like, intangible, like, sort of horror is like psychological horror is it's the best. It's I think it's the scariest. Rather, I mean, gore is whatever, but the psychological, like, what is it? Like, I don't know. What could it be? What's it gonna do to me? Like, that sort of thing is I think it's the best kind of horror.
So if you want to really scare yourself, I just put in. I'm going to put in a link. It is a Lovecraft audiobook and radio plays on YouTube, and have a nice little turn down the lights, sit down on the couch, put on your headphones, and freak the fuck out.
I may listen to that when I go to bed.
Darling,
Never sleep again.
let me just tell you right now, I will cut you. Don't you dare.
Listen, depending on what they say in those things, I may cut some out and put them on the soundboard.
Yeah, and I completely agree with Flatus. I think that the other element that the old gods add to lore in video games, MMORPG type games, is that they're a type of deity that you can, or a god, or a force that you can throw in the background that you never have to fully define. You can always, just like misdirect the player so that they think one thing about the old gods, but then like, nope, and then you do another thing and you're like, maybe, and it's that is the type of horror that it's always about. It's always about never telling the whole story because they are so beyond our comprehension that we never fully can comprehend what's going on.
Hold on to your dookie, it's about to get spooky.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Right.
The
So
look that you got from both women was pretty much the exact same reaction.
Yeah.
which one?
Dookie.
What did I
What
miss?
is wrong with you?
Oh, Duke.
I did. I said hold on to your dookie,
It's
it's about to get spooky.
Need a newspaper.
Oh, and that's the other thing about the old gods that I love is they also have a lot of hidden stories about like the deep ones that come and infiltrate humanity, but they're really the servants of the old gods, and so that's that next layer of like, well, it's kind of like the whole
So
Illuminati
much.
conspiracy, the Illuminati conspiracy, where there are forces behind the scenes that are directing the humanity to their whim, and the old gods definitely take a step on that.
I wish you could see the look on my dog's face.
All right. So wrap it up on old gods, unless Flatus, you have any last thoughts on that?
I got nothing. After I said that comment, I got looks. I had to play the sad trombone. It's all I got. That's how you finish out the old goods. Go check it out. I mean, honestly, if you have not, I think it's worth your time. And actually just use Tamlin's link. I mean, that's probably, while you're at work, load it up, listen to it, and give you some. I mean, listen to this first, because it's EverCast, and you should be listening to us and thumbs us up and rate us on iTunes. But by all means, listen to it. It's good stuff, and it's audio plays, and listen. I will whore us out at any chance I get.
You speak for yourself.
Okay.
EverCast,
Right.
Joe, fine. Us personally, no.
I would never whore out the cast. Whore out the show, but not the cast.
I think Kai would kill you.
Depends on if she shares the profits.
Yeah, damn, poor Tamlin. Poor Tamlin.
He wouldn't care.
Because I don't know.
We're
See?
learning so much about ourselves and each other.
Sorry. Just saying it like it is.
So
Hope Never Gas, episode 76, telling it like it is.
in the best of, right? Like I'm going through, Flatus and I are going through, and we're listening to all the old episodes of EverCast over the past year, and we're putting together like the best segments we have so far. Like I have different categories of I need to cut this audio and it fits in this category, right? So I have Tamlin pulls a Tamlin, right? And so there's only like 3 mentions of like me coming back from like having my mic muted so far. But one of the other things that I do actually a lot more than muting my mic is try to get us back on topic. And so I thought it would be funny to get a whole segment of me trying to get us back on topic. And this would be one of those times that I would be trying to get us back
I wonder how many times I've said I need an adult.
You know what? If I hear you say it, I'll start collecting it and saying, because you don't do it that often.
And by the way, apparently,
Who says it more, me or her? Because I've said it a lot too.
I believe I pulled Tamlin's more often than Tamlin pulled.
I wasn't going to mention, if you actually want to get serious about it, back at the beginning of the year, that lady was muting her mic more than I was. Or at least she would say, like, oh, and my mic was muted. But yeah.
Oh, I see. So she owned her mistake. See how it is?
Yeah, because it's never my fault.
Tamlin just lets it fly under the radar, hopes nobody notices.
No, and I actually think that's what it's more about. Like when I pull a Tamlin, when I mute my mic, I go on for like 20 or 30 seconds and no one says anything because the way things used to be run, everybody in the show could still hear me. It was the audience that couldn't. And so the new way that we have it set up, at least when I'm pulling a Tamlin and I'm muting my mic, you guys can't hear me as well. So I don't go on and on and on. Like somebody is like, hey, Tamlin, can't hear you, dude. All right, we're ready to move on from the old gods. Lucy, turning it over to you for our final segment.
Hello. Okay, so just a quick poll in chat. Obviously we've from the beginning of show we ruled out dragons. We're not talking about dragons today. So chat, what do you guys think is Lucy's favorite monster in MMOs? Put it in. 30-second delay. Go. I want to see what we get. I can almost guarantee you that none of you are going to pick it.
Sparkling vampires.
Sparkle. Okay, I will admit this. I read Twilight. I don't think it's good literature. I think it was a way to pass an afternoon. And I think the movies are basically tweenage awfulness. But if it gets children to read, I don't care. Children should read.
When my husband flipped me shit for reading the
No.
Twilight books, the first thing I told him was at least I was reading.
And one of my favorite authors is David Eddings. He's the author of the Bulgariad and the Malloreon. And
That's my favorite author.
High five.
High five.
But he has a quote attributed to him, or a quote attributed about him, is along the lines of David Eddings never considered himself a master. He liked to consider himself entry-level fiction. He wanted people to read his fiction and then like people enjoy it and then be like, oh, if you enjoyed Eddings, then maybe you want to try reading Tolkien or some of those old Renaissance era, King Arthur type stories. He wanted to be like to bridge that gap between like what was popular now and the great masters. Because he would refer to Tolkien as like Papa Tolkien because he was the father of high fantasy or grandfather.
One of my cats was actually named Garion, so yeah, big fan of David Eddings. Big fan of David Eddings.
My first present from Tamlin, the first thing he ever bought me was the entire Bulgariad and the Malloreon. The entire whole series. Walks me into a bookstore. He's like, have you read them? I was like, no. Walks me into a bookstore. Puts the entire fucking series for both of them and just carries them and buys them.
I was trying to impress her too.
Nook. It's Barnes & Noble's version of an ebook. However, anything by David Eddings, I have a hard copy of. So, getting back on topic. Oh, look at me.
Oh my god.
All right.
What?
So,
stay
Kermit,
on topic.
No, it's not chickens. Not chickens. Chickens are not my favorite MMO monster. Legendary neurotoxins,
Bear butts.
slimes and oozes, fun, but and sometimes deadly, especially if they rust the fighter's armor off. Yeah, that's good stuff. Spiders, no, I actually don't like spiders. Spiders are icky and they're kind of creepy.
And crawly.
Yeah, and they no spiders. A liger, nope, not a liger. Good guess. And not fighting gnomes. No. Not specifically fighting gnomes. However, my favorite monster in MMOs are actually people. That's right. People are monsters. And if you don't believe me, read the news. Any news, anywhere in the world. So the reason I like using humanoids, player characters, or humanoid type races in MMOs as the villains is because I think that you can really get behind their motives as hearing their story. They're relatable, and once you hear their stories and see their reasons for why they turned or what led them on this path, sometimes you think to yourself, oh God, would I make the same choices? And I think that's kind of like a cool little mind fuck. Sorry, I said a bad word.
We did a whole segment where you talked about the can.
Pussy.
Oh, my pussy juice? I don't drink that anymore.
Yeah, so I think that the F word is okay.
I was trying to be more like less bleeped or needing to be bleeped. I'm working on it. Anyway, so yes, humans, because they can go from allies to enemies. You never quite know what their motives are. Yes, the dirty word was mind in that statement. Yes, that's exactly what it was. Sorry, looking at chat. So yeah, I just like having people as who you're going up against. Like you can have like groups of people who are warring against each other, which I think we're going to see a lot in EQ next with the factions. You can have somebody who just like goes completely crazy and just starts using their power for awesome rather than for good. You can have cults form, and I really like the idea of an ally turned enemy, or an enemy turned ally, or those little twists and turns and plot that really you can only do with humanoids. I mean, you can do it with monsters. You can have dragons be allies, for example, or enemies. Absolutely. No, nobody's just debating that. But yeah, people. So some of the examples that I've come up with are like people who turn themselves into monsters or become monsters through their choices. We see this especially in Wildstar, and I think Tanlin has a couple pictures of this. If you haven't done the Halloween event yet, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna ruin it for you. You only have 2 days left, so if you haven't done it by now, then there's
am
no
ready.
excuse.
I have pictures and I am ready.
Okay, so Mayor Goodthorpe is a leader of a crazy cult in Quiet Downs, which is the instance for the Halloween, and he starts off as this just a, authority figure who's rallying all these people to his cause, and he inflicts himself with this toxin that gives him the visage of Jack Shade and all of his like powers and things like that. And Tanlin, I'm not sure if you brought up the picture of Jack Shade, what he turns into.
Yes, I have Jack Shade with
Good
with
stuff.
it right
So
here.
they had rumors flying around Thade, which is the exile capital city, that the Jack Shade's returning and the plague is coming back. But really, what was behind it? Scooby-Doo time, a person.
I showed them in
Another.
the wrong. I showed them in the wrong order.
That's fine. Either way, it doesn't really matter. You get the idea. He turns himself into a monster. Another cool idea thing that you can do with humanoids is a person whose motives or ambitions become greater than they are, and they resort to awful ends to get what they want. Mechgineer Thermoplug in World of Warcraft actually turns traitor to his people and convinces High Tinker Mechatork to flood Gnomeregan with radiation, turning his entire people into leper gnomes. And he's actually the boss at the end of Gnomeregan. So that's kind of like a corruption of ambition, which I really like the idea of. I'm a huge psychological sort of um, based person. I like to get inside somebody's head and figure out why they do something, especially the villains in MMOs. Another good example, and I'm bringing it back to EverQuest now for the next foreseeable time that I'm talking about this, is either allies doing something that they're not supposed to be, or doing something that works against you, or another faction coming in and riling up monsters against you. In original EverQuest, now original EverQuest didn't have actually that many quests. There were no giant exclamation points above people's head. You had to like type in keywords to get people to prompt what your quest next. But if anybody's ever been in Crushbone, you go through and you kill Emperor Crush and his advisor, and behind the throne is this like doorway, and you go through the doorway, and there's no context other than the fact that it's a dark elf whose name is Ambassador Divin, and Tanlin has a picture of that too. So just through visual storytelling, it's basically telling you that the dark elves are actually parlaying with these orcs and getting them to do things that that they normally wouldn't, and causing issues for the other side. In EverQuest 2, the starting Isle, which they brought back on the Time Lock expansion servers. I do Queen's Colony usually because I usually play the good guys. But there's this whole quest line, and it basically ends with this quest called the Source of Evil. These totems have been popping up all over the island, and they've been, corrupting things and forcing monsters to do things that they wouldn't normally do, or just basically twisting them. And you go into this cave, and you actually find out that sorry, again, it's a dark elf whose name is Vith Talar, and she's raising these totems and causing all of the trouble that you thought was done by like goblins or tainted wood spirits or things like that. So at the end of it all, you find out that it was actually just a person behind it. And let's see, my last example of this is in EQN. There's a couple already from the ebooks. Prince Miragul Tare became both Emperor and High Mage in the Takish Empire, and he started the war with the dragons, mostly because he was a jerkface and just wanted power and didn't give a crap about anybody beneath him. I'm sorry if you haven't read the ebooks yet, but we've already covered them in shows, so I'm gonna give you spoilers. In No Poetry in Death, a halfling tries to creep in and basically kill him because he can see how like corrupted he already is. He's already, even as a young, I don't think he was a child, but he was definitely young, and he was already delving into these forbidden secrets of magic and learning things he shouldn't do and exercising this power that he shouldn't have or morally shouldn't wield. And he has no problems just eliminating the halfling and anyone who stood in his way. So it's another example of how human ambition or elven ambition or humanoid ambition can make you into this sort of villain in other people's eyes, even though you might not think that you're a villain. And also Inaruk, definitely wasn't like a human, but he was definitely like a humanoid character. Seized power for all the right reasons, like didn't want it to fall into the wrong hands, like his other like brothers and sisters in arms also seized this power to try to keep it out of the wrong hands, and the power ends up corrupting him, and he becomes the demigod, or what have you. Inaruk, who is in EverQuest of old, I think he's the god of hate. Am I right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not sure.
Chat,
but I can
Google
Google.
if I'm wrong.
We Google it real quick.
I think he's the hate. But this idea can be expanded to monsters that take on the form of humans, like doppelgangers who actually literally copy your identity. And that can be creepy for a number of reasons, because the party now doesn't know whether it's you or not. And monsters that can appear as humans, like a lot of the fey creatures and dragons have the ability to turn themselves into humans. And
some demons will do it. Either through making themselves look like a human or through possessing a human to do their bidding.
So, absolutely, I expect to see humans in every single MMO being used as a faction that you have to go up against. Every tabletop, they're actually one of my favorite like monsters or enemies to fight in a tabletop game, because they can be so varied. They can be so different, and so you might not know that they're evil. They might just be doing something for the wrong reasons, or they might have like the big picture in mind, even though you have to crack a few eggs to make that omelet, which other people might not see as a good thing. But
yep,
so humans are my favorite.
I once was trying to, well, I'm not going to give away the plot, but the whole concept of the book that I was writing, the novel that I was writing, the story, was that it was going to be one of those two perspective stories, right, where I'm jumping back and forth between the perspective of two different protagonists, and from their perspective, the other person was the antagonist. So there was no evil. There was no evil person. It was the story and struggle of two different people going through a trial of some sort. I don't want to give it away again, but basically it was like there's no bad guy in the book. The one person thinks the other person is the bad guy because reasons, and then if you flip it up and look at from the other point of view, the first person was the bad guy because reasons, and it, you know, like it's like the whole idea of like the whole Robin Hood thing, right? Where in Robin's eyes, you know, he was the good guy because he was stealing from the rich and giving back to the poor. But you could also easily look at, I mean, the sheriff and Prince John were horrible people, but you could just as easily see it that they were like, well, we have to taxes for whatever reason, and we're not corrupt, and we're not wasting the money, and that this is necessary.
Chaotic good. Doing the right thing,
Right.
even if it means killing you all in the process.
All right, so any additional thoughts? I think that that's a great one. I'm actually really glad that we did this one last because it's really it's the thinking man's villain, right? Because we can all put ourselves in the perspective of a person, you know, the human, especially when they have well-defined motives and motivations. Like, you know what, if I was put in that position, I don't necessarily think that I wouldn't do the exact same thing.
Nobody ever cries over killing the Lich. Nobody ever thinks, you know, maybe I did the wrong thing over killing the Lich, but they might think twice about killing the Robin Hood or killing the villain and then finding out later, oh, his wife was killed by these people and he was just trying to get revenge. That sucks. I'm a horrible person.
All right. So, final thoughts on Humus's monsters, and then we can wrap it up. We're about 30 minutes over, and we'd probably go on if we wanted to, but I'd rather not.
I don't have final thoughts. I just, you know, song from a Jay and Silent Bob movie stuck in my head. That's all.
I don't know if you can hear me, but no.
Yeah, okay. Kailas?
Do you want me to sing the song? Is that why you came back to me? Because they just said I didn't have any final thoughts.
Oh, no.
Except for the
I'm
song
sorry.
stuck in my head.
And Lucy?
No, I ran for a while. Good.
Okay,
I'm sorry I
well,
didn't do fairies.
so I was like, you know, somebody's gonna guess Faye, right? Like the evil
But
spirit.
those are player characters, so they can be lumped into the rest.
Yeah. So that does it for our 76th episode of the EverCast show, connecting gamers with the game they play. I hope you have enjoyed our conversation this evening about the signature monsters that we find in online video games, MMOs, and we'll be back again next Sunday. That's November 8th at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, covering BlizzCon. Kylest and I are both going to BlizzCon, and we will bring back whatever news that we can find. And you know what? The two people, Lucy and Flatus, that are not going will probably know more because it'll be on the internet faster than we can, you know, discover it in person. So if you are following us on, or if you're watching us now live on Twitch, go ahead and we'd really appreciate it if you hit that follow button. You can follow us on Twitter. We are at EverCast Show, at EverCast_show on Twitter. I'm fumbling, blah 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 blah. And tomorrow or Tuesday, we will have a rebroadcast on YouTube, on Twitch, and on YouTube, Stitcher, and iTunes. If you would like to follow us there, hit that follow, hit that favorite, hit that one up button. We'd really appreciate it. I don't think we're going to have time to do a Q&A this evening, but you know what? We have them all collected right upstairs, and we'll bring them back probably next week.
Just, call me, tweet me. If
Way
you
to
want to
reach
reach
me.
me.
I need to do that. We need to do that recording of that song. Like, call me, tweet me, reach me.
Sweet mercy.
Lucy, don't sing.
Hi, Will.
I'll put the dragon costume on and dance in the background. I'll be the backup dancer.
Yes.
I have no shame. You put me in front of the camera.
Someone-
I'll probably.
I totally do the Kim Possible theme song with the call me, tweet me, instead of beat me.
Wait, is that the episode we bring Chewie back on so he can do everything for that?
Oh, yeah!
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I want to bring. We're gonna have to like twist his arm or something like that to bring him back for at least one
Yeah.
more show.
Alright, you should camp out. Oh, I'll do it while my internet's good, if it's good. So I'm gonna camp us out in 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I will see you all next week. Thank you from everyone else here at EverCast. Bye!